In a small, sleepy town surrounded by rolling hills and tall oak trees, there lived an elderly black man named Mr. Elijah Thompson. He was a quiet man who rarely drew attention to himself, but those who knew him, or thought they did, often whispered about his wealth. They called him the Millionaire, though no one really understood how he had earned his fortune. Some said it was from real estate investments. Others believed it came from a business empire built decades ago. But none of that mattered to Mr. Thompson. Despite his riches, he lived modestly in a cozy house on the outskirts of town. His car was old but well-maintained, and his clothes were simple, often patched or faded from years of use. Every morning, Mr. Thompson would wake up early, tend to his garden, and sip coffee while reading books by the window. Life for him was peaceful, predictable, and fulfilling in its own way. He didn't need much, just enough to keep him comfortable and content. Yet, despite his calm demeanor, he wasn't entirely invisible. People noticed him when he walked through town, carrying his cane and wearing his trademark wide-brimmed hat. Children waved at him, shopkeepers greeted him politely, and neighbors exchanged pleasantries over fences. Still, beneath these surface-level interactions lay subtle hints of judgment, whispers about why someone so wealthy chose to live so humbly. One sunny afternoon, as the golden rays of sunlight filtered through the curtains of his living room, Mr. Thompson decided it was time to celebrate his 75th birthday. Birthdays weren't something he made a big fuss about, but this one felt different. 75 years was a milestone, a reminder of all he had seen, experienced, and overcome. Though he didn't have family nearby, no children, grandchildren, or siblings, he wasn't lonely. He cherished solitude and found joy in the little things: the song of birds outside his window, the smell of fresh soil after rain, and the warmth of a good cup of tea. Still, birthdays deserved some acknowledgement, even if only for himself. So with a smile playing on his lips, Mr. Thompson grabbed his wallet, slipped on his shoes, and headed out the door. His destination? Sweet Delight's Bakery, the most popular bakery in town, known for its decadent cakes, flaky pastries, and Instagram-worthy desserts. It was the kind of place where people lined up just to get a glimpse of the display cases filled with sugary masterpieces. The aroma of buttercream frosting and freshly baked bread wafted out onto the street, drawing customers in like bees to honey. When Mr. Thompson arrived at the bakery, he parked his car a short distance away and slowly made his way inside. The bell above the door chimed softly as he entered, announcing his presence. Inside, the atmosphere buzzed with energy. Customers chatted animatedly, pointing at cakes adorned with intricate designs. Employees bustled around, taking orders, boxing pastries, and offering samples to eager patrons. Everything seemed perfect: the gleaming countertops, the neatly arranged shelves, the cheerful chatter. But within moments, Mr. Thompson sensed a shift in the air. As he approached the counter, the young woman stationed there paused mid-conversation with another customer. Her bright smile faltered slightly as her eyes scanned his appearance. She took in his worn-out shoes, his faded jacket, and his weathered hands that told stories of hard work and resilience. For a brief second, she hesitated before plastering a polite but distant smile back onto her face. "Can I help you?" she asked, her tone noticeably cooler than the warm greetings she'd given to others. Mr. Thompson nodded, unfazed by her change in demeanor. "Yes, I'd like to order a cake," he replied calmly, meeting her gaze with steady eyes. "Something simple but delicious." The young woman raised an eyebrow skeptically, her pen hovering uncertainly over her notepad. "What size are we looking at? And do you have a design in mind?" "No design needed," Mr. Thompson said with a slight chuckle. "Just a medium-sized vanilla cake with chocolate frosting will do fine." Behind her, another employee leaned in to whisper something to the cashier. Though their voices were low, Mr. Thompson could still hear fragments of their conversation. "Probably can't even afford one of our fancy designs," the coworker muttered, followed by a soft laugh. Mr. Thompson's heart sank a little at the remark, but he didn't let it show. Instead, he reached into his pocket and pulled out his checkbook, a relic from a bygone era, and began filling out the payment details. When he handed the check to the cashier, her eyes widened in disbelief. It was made out for $200, far more than the cost of the cake itself, including a generous tip. For a moment, silence hung heavy in the air as the reality of her mistake dawned on her. Thank you," she stammered, sliding the receipt across the counter awkwardly. Her cheeks flushed red with embarrassment, but Mr. Thompson simply smiled, kindly, and turned to leave. Outside, the sun was shining brightly, casting long shadows across the pavement. As Mr. Thompson climbed back into his car, he couldn't shake off the sting of being judged based on appearances. It wasn't the first time he'd encountered such prejudice, nor would it be the last. But instead of letting anger consume him, he resolved to focus on what truly mattered, celebrating life and proving people wrong, not through confrontation, but through quiet dignity and grace. Driving home, Mr. Thompson reflected on the irony of the situation. Here he was, a self-made millionaire, yet people still underestimated him because of the way he looked. He could have corrected them, shown off his wealth, or demanded respect, but that wasn't who he was. He valued humility and kindness above all else, traits that had served him well throughout his life. And besides, he thought with a wry smile, sometimes the best revenge wasn't loud or flashy. It was silent and sweet, like the cake he had just ordered. Back at home, Mr. Thompson spent the rest of the day tending to his garden, watering plants and trimming hedges. As he worked, he allowed himself to dream about the future. Maybe next year he'd throw a bigger celebration, not for himself, but for the community. Perhaps he could host a gathering where everyone, regardless of background or status, could come together and share laughter, food, and stories. After all, life wasn't about accumulating wealth or impressing others. It was about connection, understanding, and leaving the world a little better than you found it. With these thoughts swirling in his mind, Mr. Thompson finished his chores and settled into his favorite armchair by the fireplace. Outside, the sky grew darker, dotted with twinkling stars. Inside, the house was warm and inviting, filled with the comforting scent of wood smoke and the soft crackle of burning logs. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities, and perhaps even new friendships. But for now, Mr. Thompson was content to sit quietly, savoring the peace of the moment and looking forward to the promise of a brighter tomorrow. The next morning, Mr. Elijah Thompson woke up to the sound of birds chirping outside his bedroom window. The sun was just beginning to rise, casting a soft golden glow over his garden. He stretched lazily in bed, feeling the weight of yesterday's events still lingering in his mind. The encounter at the bakery had left a bitter taste, but instead of dwelling on it, he decided to channel his energy into something positive. Life, he often reminded himself, was too short to waste on negativity. After enjoying a light breakfast of toast and tea, Mr. Thompson stepped outside to check on his plants. His garden was his pride and joy, a vibrant patchwork of flowers, vegetables, and herbs that he tended to with great care. As he watered the tomato vines and pruned the rose bushes, he noticed a figure standing near the fence. It was Marcus, a young boy who lived with his family in a rented cottage nearby. Marcus was about 10 years old, with curly hair, bright eyes, and an infectious smile that could light up even the gloomiest day. "Good morning, Mr. Thompson," Marcus called out cheerfully, waving enthusiastically. "Can I come in, Mr.?" Thompson smiled warmly and nodded. "Of course, Marcus. What brings you here so early?" Marcus hesitated for a moment, clutching a small box wrapped in brown paper. I heard about what happened at the bakery yesterday," he said softly, looking down at his feet. "My mom works there, and she told me how they treated you. I wanted to give you this." Curious, Mr. Thompson accepted the gift and unwrapped it carefully. Inside lay a beautifully crafted cupcake, its frosting swirled into delicate patterns and sprinkled with colorful decorations. It looked homemade, yet every detail spoke of effort and love. "This is incredible, Marcus," Mr. Thompson said, genuinely touched. "Did you make this yourself?" Marcus nodded shyly. "Yeah, my grandma taught me how to bake. She always says kindness tastes better than anything else." Touched by the boy's sincerity, Mr. Thompson invited him inside. Together they sat at the kitchen table, slicing the cupcake into 2 equal parts. As they ate, they talked about life, the challenges Marcus faced at school, his dreams of becoming a chef one day, and the importance of treating others with respect regardless of appearances. "You know, Marcus," Mr. Thompson said thoughtfully, "the world can be a tough place sometimes. People judge each other based on clothes, cars, or money. But true character isn't measured by those things. It's about how we treat others, especially when no one is watching." Marcus listened intently, nodding as if committing every word to memory. By the end of their conversation, both felt a newfound connection, a bond formed not by age or background, but by shared values and mutual respect. Later that afternoon, news of the incident at Sweet Delight's bakery began spreading. Throughout the town, Marcus, excited by the meaningful exchange with Mr. Thompson, couldn't resist sharing the story with his parents during dinner. His mother, Mrs. Jenkins, listened quietly at first, her expression growing increasingly troubled as the details unfolded. When Marcus mentioned the rude comments made by her coworkers, she sighed deeply, guilt washing over her face. "That's terrible," she murmured, shaking her head. "No customer should ever be treated like that, no matter what they look like." Determined to address the issue, Mrs. Jenkins recounted the story to her husband, who happened to be friends with several influential figures in town. Word traveled fast, and soon, the entire community was buzzing with discussions about the bakery staff's behavior. Some criticized them openly, while others expressed sympathy for Mr. Thompson, praising his calm and dignified response to the situation. Back at Sweet Delight's bakery, the atmosphere was tense. Employees gathered nervously around the manager, Mrs. Patricia Carter, as she addressed the growing controversy. A tall, stern woman with sharp features, Mrs. Carter rarely tolerated mistakes, let alone ones that tarnished the bakery's reputation. "I don't care what your personal opinions are," she said firmly, pacing back and forth. "We pride ourselves on serving everyone equally, with respect and professionalism. If we lose sight of that, we lose our integrity. Do you understand?" Her words hung heavy in the air, prompting murmurs of agreement among the staff. Guilt settled heavily on the shoulders of those involved, particularly the cashier who had judged Mr. Thompson so harshly. That evening, after closing time, the team huddled together in the kitchen, brainstorming ways to make amends. "We need to apologize, not just with words but with action," suggested Lisa, one of the senior bakers. "Let's create something special for him, something unforgettable." Inspired by the idea, the staff pooled their resources and worked tirelessly through the night. Using only the finest ingredients, they crafted a massive apology cake, a towering masterpiece adorned with intricate designs, gold accents, and personalized messages etched in chocolate. Each layer represented a different flavor: vanilla, chocolate, red velvet, and the top featured a fondant sculpture of a dove holding an olive branch, symbolizing peace and reconciliation. Early the following morning, a group of employees loaded the cake into a delivery van and drove toward Mr. Thompson's house. Their hearts raced with anticipation as they approached the quaint little home nestled amidst lush greenery. When Mr. Thompson answered the door, his eyes widened in surprise at the sight of the enormous cake and the nervous-looking staff standing before him. "Mr. Thompson, we're so sorry," the cashier blurted out, tears welling up in her eyes. "We were wrong to judge you, and we deeply regret our behavior. Please accept this cake as a token of our apology." For a moment, silence filled the air as Mr. Thompson studied their faces. Then slowly, a gentle smile spread across his lips. "Apologies are meaningful only when followed by action," he said wisely. "Let this be a lesson, not just for your team, but for everyone who judges too quickly." Moved by his grace, the staff thanked him profusely before heading back to the bakery. News of their gesture spread quickly, earning praise from townsfolk and further solidifying Mr. Thompson's reputation as a man of wisdom and compassion. Inspired by these events, Mr. Thompson decided to take matters into his own hands. He realized that prejudice wasn't unique to the bakery. It existed everywhere, lurking beneath polite smiles and casual conversations. Determined to foster understanding within the community, he began planning an event titled Unity Through Understanding. Held at the local park, it would feature food stalls, live music, workshops, and activities designed to bring people together. As preparations got underway, excitement rippled through the town. Flyers were distributed, social media posts went viral, and volunteers poured in to help organize the event. On the day of the gathering, hundreds of residents turned up, eager to participate. Among them were the bakery staff, who set up a booth, offering free samples of their best creations. They greeted every visitor warmly, determined to demonstrate their commitment to change. Throughout the day, laughter echoed through the park, friendships blossomed, and barriers crumbled. During a heartfelt speech, Mr. Thompson acknowledged the bakery's efforts, earning thunderous applause from the crowd. By the time fireworks lit up the night sky, signaling the conclusion of the event, the town felt united in a way it hadn't been before. And so, Mr. Elijah Thompson continued living his life simply yet profoundly, forever remembered not merely as a millionaire but as a catalyst for positive change. His 75th birthday marked not just another year added to his journey, but the beginning of a legacy rooted in compassion and understanding. The days following the Unity Through Understanding event brought a noticeable shift in the town's atmosphere. Conversations that once revolved around gossip and judgment now centered on collaboration, empathy, and growth. Mr. Elijah Thompson had always believed in the power of small actions to create big change, but even he was surprised by how deeply his efforts resonated with the community. The event wasn't just a one-time gathering. It planted seeds of transformation that continued to grow long after the last firework had faded from the sky. One crisp morning, as Mr. Thompson watered his garden, he noticed a familiar figure approaching, Mrs. Patricia Carter, the manager of Sweet Delights Bakery. She carried a bouquet of fresh flowers and wore an expression that mixed nervousness with determination. Stopping at the gate, she cleared her throat softly before speaking. "Good morning, Mr. Thompson," she began. Hesitantly, "May I come in?" Mr. Thompson set down his watering can and smiled warmly. "Of course, Mrs. Carter, please make yourself comfortable." As they sat together under the shade of a large oak tree, Mrs. Carter handed him the bouquet. "These are for you, a small token of gratitude for everything you've done," she said sincerely. "I wanted to personally thank you for giving us a chance to redeem ourselves. What happened at the bakery, well, it was unacceptable. But your kindness inspired us to do better, not just for our customers, but for each other." Mr. Thompson accepted the flowers graciously, touched by her words. "Change starts when people are willing to listen and learn," he replied gently. "You and your team showed courage by acknowledging your mistakes and taking steps to improve. That's something worth celebrating." Encouraged by his response, Mrs. Carter opened up about the changes implemented at the bakery since the incident. Every employee underwent sensitivity training, focusing on treating all customers with equal respect and dignity. They also introduced a kindness corner in the shop, where patrons could leave notes of encouragement or share stories of positivity. These initiatives not only improved morale among the staff but also strengthened their bond with the community. "I'm proud of what we've accomplished so far," Mrs. Carter admitted, her voice filled with hope. "But there's still more work to be done. We want Sweet Delights to be a place where everyone feels welcome, no matter who they are or where they come from." Moved by her dedication, Mr. Thompson offered to mentor her and her team further. Over the next few weeks, he visited the bakery regularly, sharing insights on leadership, humility, and the importance of fostering inclusivity. His presence became a source of inspiration for both employees and customers alike. People often remarked how the bakery felt warmer, friendlier, and more inviting than ever before. Meanwhile, Marcus, the young boy who had gifted Mr. Thompson the homemade cupcake, continued to visit him frequently. Their friendship blossomed into a mentorship of sorts, with Mr. Thompson teaching Marcus valuable life lessons alongside baking tips. Together, they experimented with recipes, creating new treats that combined tradition with innovation. One Saturday afternoon, as they prepared a batch of chocolate chip cookies, Marcus asked a question that caught Mr. Thompson off guard. Why don't you tell people about your wealth, Mr. Thompson? Wouldn't it make things easier for you? Mr. Thompson paused, considering the question carefully. Money doesn't define who I am, Marcus, he explained. It's just a tool, a means to help others and live comfortably. If I flaunted it, people might treat me differently, not because of who I am, but because of what I have. And that wouldn't feel genuine. Marcus nodded thoughtfully, absorbing the wisdom behind the words. So, being humble is like staying true to yourself? Exactly, Mr. Thompson affirmed with a smile. Honesty, kindness, and integrity, they're the qualities that truly matter. Everything else is just decoration. Inspired by these conversations, Marcus decided to take action. With Mr. Thompson's guidance, he organized a bake sale at school, donating the proceeds to a local charity that supported underprivileged families. The event was a huge success, drawing praise from teachers, parents, and classmates. For Marcus, it was a turning point, a realization that even small gestures could make a significant impact. Back in town, the ripple effects of Mr. Thompson's influence extended beyond the bakery and the park. Neighbors who had previously kept to themselves began reaching out to one another, organizing potluck dinners and community cleanup drives. Local businesses collaborated on projects aimed at uplifting marginalized groups, while schools introduced programs focused on diversity and inclusion. Slowly but surely, the town transformed into a place where differences were celebrated rather than feared. Despite the progress, challenges remained. Prejudice and misunderstanding couldn't be erased overnight, but the foundation laid by Mr. Thompson's efforts provided a strong starting point. He often reminded himself and others that change was a journey, not a destination. There would be setbacks, disagreements, and moments of doubt, but perseverance and compassion would always lead the way forward. One evening, as Mr. Thompson sat by the fireplace reading a book, he received an unexpected visitor. It was Mrs. Jenkins, Marcus's mother, holding a plate of freshly baked brownies. Her eyes glistened with emotion as she spoke. Mr. Thompson, I don't know how to thank you enough, she said softly. Because of you, my son has found confidence in himself. Because of you, our town has become a better place. You've shown us what true leadership looks like, not through power or authority, but through love and understanding. Touched by her words, Mr. Thompson invited her to sit beside him. Mrs. Jenkins, I didn't do this alone, he replied humbly. Everyone played a part, your family, the bakery staff, the entire community. All I did was plant a seed. It's up to all of us to nurture it and watch it grow. Their conversation lasted late into the night, covering topics ranging from parenting to dreams for the future. By the time Mrs. Jenkins left, the house felt quieter, yet fuller somehow, as if the weight of connection and shared purpose lingered in the air. As the weeks turned into months, Mr. Thompson reflected on the journey he had embarked upon. At 75 years old, he had lived a rich and fulfilling life, but never had he imagined becoming a catalyst for such profound change. Yet here he was, surrounded by a community united in its pursuit of kindness and understanding. Birthdays, he realized, weren't just about marking another year. They were reminders of the opportunities ahead, the potential to grow, and the ability to leave a lasting legacy. With a contented sigh, Mr. Thompson closed his book and gazed out the window. Outside, the stars twinkled brightly against the velvet sky, casting a gentle glow over the world below. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new connections, and perhaps even new adventures. But for now, he was grateful for the lessons learned, the friendships forged, and the knowledge that even the smallest acts of kindness could spark extraordinary transformations. As the seasons changed, so did the rhythm of life in the small town. Autumn arrived, painting the landscape with hues of amber, crimson, and gold. The air grew cooler, carrying with it the scent of fallen leaves and wood smoke. For Mr. Elijah Thompson, this time of year held a special kind of magic, a reminder of nature's cycles and the beauty of impermanence. Yet amidst the changing colors and crisp breezes, one thing remained constant: the growing sense of unity within the community. There, Impact of Mr. Thompson's efforts continued to ripple outward, touching lives in unexpected ways. At Sweet Delight's Bakery, the staff had fully embraced their new mission of inclusivity and kindness. Every morning they gathered for a brief meeting to discuss not just daily tasks, but also how they could make customers feel valued and respected. The Kindness Corner became a beloved feature of the shop, overflowing with heartfelt notes from patrons who shared stories of gratitude, hope, and resilience. Some even left small gifts, handmade bookmarks, drawings, or jars of homemade jam, as tokens of appreciation. One particularly chilly October morning, a young woman named Sarah walked into the bakery, clutching her coat tightly around her. She was visibly nervous, her eyes darting around as if searching for reassurance. When the cashier greeted her warmly, she hesitated before stepping up to the counter. I'm here to pick up an order," Sarah said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's for my daughter's birthday." The cashier smiled, encouragingly. "Of course, let me check for you." While waiting, Sarah glanced at the Kindness Corner and noticed a note that read, "You are stronger than you think." Something about those words struck a chord deep within her. By the time the staff handed her the beautifully decorated cake, she felt a glimmer of warmth despite the weight she carried inside. Later that day, Sarah returned to the bakery, not to buy anything, but to leave a note of her own. In neat handwriting, she wrote, "Thank you for making today a little brighter. Your kindness reminded me that I'm not alone." Stories like Sarah's began surfacing more frequently, inspiring others to share their experiences. Word spread beyond the town, drawing visitors curious to see what made Sweet Delight's Bakery so special. Local newspapers featured articles about the transformation, highlighting the role Mr. Thompson had played in sparking it all. Though he shied away from the spotlight, his humility only added to the admiration people felt for him. Meanwhile, Marcus's confidence soared as he took on new responsibilities both at school and in the community. Encouraged by Mr. Thompson, he started a Baking Buddies Club where students learned to bake treats and donate them to shelters and food banks. What began as a small project quickly gained traction, attracting members of all ages. Parents volunteered to help. Local businesses donated supplies, and soon, the club became a cornerstone of the town's charitable efforts. On one Saturday afternoon, Marcus invited Mr. Thompson to join him at the community center, where the Baking Buddies were hosting a large-scale event. Tables were set up with ingredients, mixing bowls, and aprons while cheerful music played in the background. Children giggled as they frosted cupcakes, their faces smeared with chocolate and sprinkles. Adults worked alongside them, guiding hands and offering words of encouragement. When Mr. Thompson arrived, the room erupted into applause. Marcus beamed with pride as he introduced him to everyone. "This is Mr. Thompson, the man who taught me that kindness matters more than anything else," he announced, his voice filled with admiration. Touched by the reception, Mr. Thompson addressed the crowd. "Each of you has already achieved something remarkable," he said, his tone warm and sincere. "By working together, you're showing the world what true compassion looks like. Remember, no act of kindness is ever too small. It can change someone's day or even their life." His words resonated deeply, leaving many attendees teary-eyed. As the event drew to a close, boxes upon boxes of baked goods were loaded onto trucks bound for nearby shelters. Volunteers lined up to shake Mr. Thompson's hand, thanking him for his guidance and inspiration. Though he insisted he'd done little more than offer advice, they saw him as a beacon of hope, a living testament to the power of empathy and action. Back home, Mr. Thompson reflected on the day's events with quiet satisfaction. He had never sought recognition or reward. His actions stemmed from a desire to create a better world, however modestly. Yet, seeing the tangible results of those efforts, the smiles, the connections, the renewed sense of purpose, filled him with a profound sense of fulfillment. That evening, as he sat by the fireplace sipping tea, there was a knock at the door. Opening it, he found Mrs. Patricia Carter standing there, accompanied by several members of her staff. They carried a large canvas wrapped in brown paper, its edges hinting at something significant. "We wanted to give you this," Mrs. Carter said, her voice trembling slightly. It's our way of saying thank you for everything. Curious, Mr. Thompson unwrapped the canvas to reveal a stunning mural painted by the bakery staff. It depicted scenes from the Unity Through Understanding event. Families laughing together, children playing, and volunteers working side by side. At the center stood a portrait of Mr. Thompson himself, surrounded by symbols of peace and harmony. A dove, an olive branch, and a slice of cake adorned with the words, "Kindness matters." Speechless, Mr. Thompson gazed at the artwork, his heart swelling with emotion. This is extraordinary, he finally managed to say. I don't know what to say except, thank you. You've captured the spirit of our community perfectly. The staff exchanged proud smiles, knowing their gift would serve as a lasting reminder of the bond they had forged. Before leaving, Mrs. Carter hugged him tightly. We couldn't have done any of this without you, Mr. Thompson. You've given us a gift we'll cherish forever, the belief that we can always do better. In the weeks that followed, the mural found a permanent home in the town square, becoming a focal point for gatherings and celebrations. Visitors often paused to admire it, snapping photos and reading the inscription etched beneath. Dedicated to Mr. Elijah Thompson, whose wisdom and compassion united us all. Though honored by the tribute, Mr. Thompson remained grounded, continuing his simple yet meaningful routine. He tended to his garden, read books by the fire, and welcomed neighbors who stopped by for tea and conversation. Each interaction reinforced his belief in the goodness of people and the potential for positive change. Winter approached, blanketing the town in a soft layer of snow. The streets sparkled under the pale sunlight, and the air carried the faint scent of pine and gingerbread. As Christmas neared, the community came together once again, organizing caroling sessions, charity drives, and festive markets. This time, however, the spirit of inclusion extended far beyond the usual boundaries. Families opened their homes to strangers, businesses offered discounts to those in need, and schools hosted workshops celebrating diverse traditions. For Mr. Thompson, the holiday season brought a renewed sense of joy and connection. On Christmas Eve, he hosted a small gathering at his house, inviting neighbors, friends, and acquaintances alike. The table groaned under the weight of dishes contributed by everyone: roasted turkey, mashed potatoes, cranberry sauce, and an assortment of desserts, including a towering fruitcake baked by Marcus. As they sat together exchanging stories and laughter, Mr. Thompson raised his glass in a toast. To kindness, understanding, and the power of coming together, he said, his eyes twinkling with warmth. May we continue to build a world where everyone feels seen, heard, and valued. The room erupted into cheers, glasses clinking as smiles lit up every face. In that moment, surrounded by loved ones and the fruits of collective effort, Mr. Thompson felt a profound sense of peace. His 75th year had been marked by challenges and triumphs, lessons learned, and bridges built. But most importantly, it had reaffirmed his faith in humanity and the enduring belief that even the smallest acts of kindness could spark extraordinary transformations. Outside, snowflakes drifted lazily from the sky, settling gently on rooftops and tree branches. Inside, the fire crackled softly, casting a golden glow over the room. Tomorrow would bring new opportunities, new adventures, and perhaps even new challenges. But for now, Mr. Elijah Thompson was content to bask in the warmth of the present, grateful for the journey that had led him here, and excited for the road ahead. The new year arrived with a fresh blanket of snow, sparkling under the pale winter sun. For Mr. Elijah Thompson, the start of January brought not just colder temperatures, but also a renewed sense of purpose. The transformations he had witnessed in his small town filled him with hope. Yet he knew there was still much work to be done. Change, after all, wasn't a destination. It was an ongoing journey that required patience, persistence, and unwavering commitment. One morning, as Mr. Thompson sipped his coffee by the window, he noticed a group of children playing in the park across the street. Their laughter echoed through the frosty air as they built snowmen and slid down makeshift sleds. Among them was Marcus, now more confident than ever, leading games and encouraging others to join in. Watching the scene unfold, Mr. Thompson felt a deep sense of pride, not just for Marcus, but for the entire community. These were the moments that reminded him why he had chosen to stay humble despite his wealth. True fulfillment came not from material possessions, but from seeing others thrive. Later that day, Mr. Thompson received a letter in the mail. It was addressed to him in neat, handwritten script, and its contents surprised him. The sender was a woman named Mrs. Eleanor Harper, a retired teacher who lived on the other side of town. She wrote about how inspired she had been by the Unity Through Understanding event and the subsequent changes in the community. Enclosed with her letter was an invitation to speak at a local school assembly scheduled for later that month. "I believe your story could inspire our students," Mrs. Harper wrote. "They are at an age where they're forming their values and beliefs, and hearing from someone like you, someone who has made such a positive impact, could guide them toward becoming compassionate, thoughtful individuals." Touched by the request, Mr. Thompson accepted the invitation without hesitation. He spent the next few days preparing his speech, carefully choosing words that would resonate with young minds. He wanted to convey not just lessons about kindness and empathy, but also the importance of standing up against prejudice and injustice. Above all, he hoped to leave them with a message they could carry into adulthood, that every person has the power to make a difference, no matter how ordinary they might feel. On the day of the assembly, Mr. Thompson arrived at the school early, greeted warmly by Mrs. Harper and the principal. As he walked through the hallways, he couldn't help but notice the colorful artwork displayed on the walls. Paintings, poems, and essays created by the students. Many of the pieces reflected themes of unity, acceptance, and gratitude, evidence of the lasting influence of the town's recent efforts. When it was time for the assembly, the auditorium buzzed with excitement. Students filed in, taking their seats while teachers stood along the walls, watching attentively. When Mr. Thompson stepped onto the stage, the room fell silent save for a few whispers of recognition. He smiled kindly, adjusting the microphone before beginning his speech. "Good morning, everyone," he said, his voice steady and warm. "I want to thank you all for having me here today. I'm not here to lecture or preach. I simply want to share a few thoughts that have guided my life. You see, I've learned over the years that true strength isn't measured by what we own or achieve. It's measured by how we treat others." He went on to recount stories from his own life, the challenges he had faced, the moments when he had been judged unfairly, and the choices he had made to rise above negativity. He spoke candidly about the incident at Sweet Delight's Bakery and how it had inspired him to take action rather than harbor resentment. His words struck a chord with the audience, many of whom nodded in agreement or scribbled notes in their notebooks. "Each of you has the ability to create change," he continued. "It doesn't require money, fame, or special talents. All it takes is courage, the courage to stand up for what's right even when it's difficult. And remember, kindness isn't just something you give to others. It's also something you give to yourself." By the end of his speech, the auditorium erupted into applause. Students rushed to the stage, eager to ask questions and express their gratitude. One girl shyly approached him, holding out a drawing she had made during the assembly. It depicted a tree with sprawling branches, each leaf bearing a word like respect, empathy, or hope. "This is beautiful," Mr. Thompson said, genuinely moved. "What does it mean?" "It means that kindness grows like a tree," the girl explained. "Every little act is a seed, and if we keep planting them, they'll grow into something big and strong." Her explanation brought tears to his eyes. In that moment, he realized that his efforts had planted seeds far beyond what he could have imagined. These children weren't just listening, they were internalizing the lessons and carrying them forward. Over the following weeks, the ripple effects of Mr. Thompson's visit became evident. Teachers reported increased collaboration among students, who began organizing projects aimed at helping others. A group of fifth graders launched a campaign to collect books for underprivileged schools, while another class started a random acts of kindness initiative, encouraging peers to perform good deeds anonymously. Even parents noticed a shift, commenting on how their children seemed more considerate and engaged. Meanwhile, the bakery staff continued to innovate, finding new ways to spread positivity. They introduced a program called Pay It Forward Fridays, allowing customers to purchase items for those in need. Within weeks, the initiative gained momentum, with dozens of meals and desserts being donated weekly. Local media covered the story, inspiring similar programs in neighboring towns. As February approached, bringing with it Valentine's Day, the community rallied around a unique celebration dubbed Love Your Neighbor Week. Organized by Marcus and his Baking Buddies Club, the event encouraged residents to express gratitude and appreciation for one another. People left anonymous notes of thanks in mailboxes, delivered homemade treats to neighbors, and volunteered at shelters and nursing homes. On the final day of the week, a large gathering was held in the town square, complete with music, food, and speeches celebrating the bonds that united them. During the event, Marcus took the stage to honor Mr. Thompson. Once again, Mr. Thompson taught me that kindness isn't just something you do, it's something you live, he said, his voice ringing clear and strong. Because of him, I've learned to see the best in people, even when it's hard. Because of him, our town has become a place where everyone belongs. The crowd erupted into cheers, chanting Mr. Thompson's name until he reluctantly joined Marcus on stage. Though uncomfortable with the attention, he couldn't deny the warmth swelling in his chest. As fireworks lit up the night sky, signaling the conclusion of the celebration, he looked out at the sea of smiling faces and felt a profound sense of belonging. That evening, as Mr. Thompson returned home, he paused outside his gate to take in the sight of his garden bathed in moonlight. Snow still clung to the ground, but signs of spring were beginning to emerge. Tiny green shoots peeking through the soil, promising renewal and growth. Just like the plants in his garden, the seeds of kindness he had planted were beginning to sprout, reaching toward the light. Inside, he settled into his favorite armchair, reflecting on the past year. From the painful encounter at the bakery to the transformative events that followed, it had been a journey of resilience, connection, and discovery. At 75, he had lived long enough to understand that life's greatest joys came not from personal achievements, but from the impact one left on others. With a contented sigh, Mr. Thompson picked up a book and opened it to a marked page. The quote written there seemed fitting. No act of kindness, no matter how small, is ever wasted. Closing the book, he gazed out the window at the stars twinkling in the vast night sky. Tomorrow would bring new opportunities, new adventures, and perhaps even new challenges. But for now, he was grateful for the lessons learned, the friendships forged, and the knowledge that even the smallest acts of kindness could spark extraordinary transformations. And so, Mr. Elijah Thompson drifted off to sleep, dreaming not of riches or accolades, but of a world where compassion reigned supreme, a world he had helped build, one gentle act at a time. As spring arrived, the town began to awaken from its winter slumber. The snow melted away, revealing patches of green grass and budding flowers. Birds chirped cheerfully in the trees, and the air carried a sense of renewal. For Mr. Elijah Thompson, this season symbolized growth, not just in nature but also within the community he had helped transform. The seeds of kindness and understanding that had been planted months earlier were now flourishing, creating a vibrant tapestry of unity and compassion. One sunny morning, as Mr. Thompson tended to his garden, he noticed a group of neighbors gathering near his fence. They were carrying tools, seedlings, and trays of refreshments, their faces glowing with excitement. Leading the group was Marcus, who waved enthusiastically when he saw Mr. Thompson step outside. "Good morning, Mr. Thompson," Marcus called out. "We've got a surprise for you." Curious, Mr. Thompson walked over to greet them. "What's all this about?" he asked, gesturing toward the supplies they had brought. "We're here to help you expand your garden," one of the neighbors explained. "You've done so much for us. It's time we gave something back." Touched by their gesture, Mr. Thompson protested gently. "This isn't necessary. My garden is fine just the way it is." But the neighbors wouldn't hear of it. "Think of it as our way of saying thank you," another added. "Besides, we want to make sure there's enough space for everyone to enjoy it." With no room left to argue, Mr. Thompson smiled warmly and joined in the effort. Together they worked, tirelessly throughout the day, planting new flowers, herbs, and vegetables. Children played among the rows of plants while adults shared stories and laughter. By evening, the once modest garden had transformed into a sprawling oasis brimming with color and life. The expanded garden quickly became a gathering spot for the neighborhood. Families visited regularly, bringing picnic baskets and blankets to enjoy meals outdoors. Marcus often led impromptu baking sessions, using fresh ingredients harvested from the garden to create delicious treats. Even Mrs. Carter and her bakery staff stopped by occasionally, contributing desserts and joining in the festivities. Word of the garden spread beyond the town, drawing visitors from neighboring areas. Tourists marveled at its beauty and the sense of community it represented. Local photographers captured images of the vibrant blooms and smiling faces, posting them online and attracting even more attention. Before long, the garden had become a symbol of hope and connection, a testament to what could be achieved when people worked together. Amidst these developments, Mr. Thompson continued to mentor Marcus, guiding him not only in gardening and baking but also in navigating the challenges of growing up. One afternoon, as they sat beneath the shade of an old oak tree, Marcus confided in him about a recent incident at school. "There's this kid, Kevin," Marcus began hesitantly. "He's always getting teased because he dresses differently and doesn't talk much. I tried to stand up for him, but some of the other kids laughed at me too." Mr. Thompson listened intently, nodding thoughtfully. "It takes courage to stand up for someone," he said, "especially when others don't understand. But remember, Marcus, change starts small. Maybe those kids aren't ready to listen yet, but someday they will be. And when that day comes, they'll remember how you treated Kevin with kindness." Encouraged by his words, Marcus decided to take action. He invited Kevin to join the Baking Buddies Club, assuring him that everyone was welcome. At first, Kevin hesitated, unsure if he belonged, but the warmth and acceptance he received from the group soon put him at ease. Over time, he began opening up, sharing his own talents and ideas. His creativity inspired new recipes, and his quiet confidence earned him respect among his peers. Seeing the positive impact Marcus and Kevin were making, Mr. Thompson realized it was time to pass the torch. Though he cherished his role as a mentor, he understood that true leadership meant empowering others to lead. With this in mind, he announced his decision to step back from organizing events and initiatives, leaving them in the capable hands of the younger generation. "I'm not going anywhere," he reassured everyone during a community meeting. "I'll still be here to offer advice and support whenever needed. But it's your turn now, to dream bigger, reach further, and continue building the world you want to see." His announcement was met with gratitude and determination. Under Marcus's leadership, the Baking Buddies Club expanded its reach, partnering with schools and organizations across the region. Kevin emerged as a key figure, using his artistic skills to design posters and promotional materials. Together, they organized workshops, fundraisers, and awareness campaigns that addressed issues like bullying, inequality, and environmental sustainability. Meanwhile, Sweet Delight's Bakery continued to thrive, thanks to the innovative programs introduced by Mrs. Carter and her team. Their efforts earned recognition beyond the town, with features in national magazines and invitations to speak at conferences. Yet despite their success, they remained grounded, never losing sight of the values that had guided their transformation. As summer approached, the community came together once again to celebrate another milestone, the grand opening of the Unity Garden Pavilion. Built adjacent to Mr. Thompson's property, the pavilion served as a multi-purpose space for gatherings, performances, and educational activities. Its construction had been a collaborative effort, funded by donations and built by volunteers from all walks of life. On the day of the ribbon-cutting ceremony, the entire town turned out to mark the occasion. Children ran around playing games, musicians performed lively tunes, and food stalls offered a variety of dishes prepared by local residents. At the center of it all stood Mr. Thompson, surrounded by friends, family, and admirers. When it was time for speeches, Marcus took the stage, his voice filled with emotion. "This pavilion represents everything we've learned over the past year," he said. "It reminds us that unity isn't just about coming together. It's about lifting each other up, celebrating our differences, and working toward a better future." Afterward, it was Mr. Thompson's turn to speak. Stepping up to the microphone, he looked out at the sea of familiar faces and felt a deep sense of fulfillment. "Today, we celebrate not just a building, but a vision," he began. "A vision of a world where kindness triumphs over judgment, where empathy replaces indifference, and where every person feels valued and respected." His words resonated deeply, earning thunderous applause. As fireworks lit up the night sky, signaling the end of the celebration, Mr. Thompson stood quietly aside, watching contentedly. He knew that his journey wasn't over. There would always be opportunities to inspire, to teach, and to learn. But for now, he was grateful for the legacy he had helped create. In the months that followed, Mr. Thompson embraced a quieter lifestyle, spending his days tending to his garden, reading books, and enjoying visits from friends and neighbors. Though he rarely sought the spotlight, his influence continued to ripple outward, touching lives in ways both big and small. People often remarked how the town felt different now, warmer, kinder, and more connected than ever before. One crisp autumn evening, as Mr. Thompson sat by the fireplace reflecting on his 76th year, he felt a profound sense of peace. Life had taught him many lessons, but none more important than this: that true wealth wasn't measured in dollars or possessions. It was measured in the love and respect shared between people. Outside, the stars twinkled brightly against the velvet sky, casting a gentle glow over the world below. Inside, the fire crackled softly, filling the house with warmth and light. Tomorrow would bring new adventures, new connections, and perhaps even new challenges. But for now, Mr. Elijah Thompson was content to sit quietly, savoring the moment and looking forward to the promise of a brighter tomorrow. And so, his story continued, not as a tale of riches or fame, but as a testament to the enduring power of kindness, humility, and the belief that even the smallest acts could spark extraordinary transformations.